As you most likely know, I am in the midst of, and almost done with, a series on Donkey Kong Country Returns. Because I am almost finished with it, the question arises, will I do the same for its sequel, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze? I did a series with my former best friend, Xavier64, on his channel, where we played the game together from beginning to end. I did all the bonus stuff, but that's irrelevant. We used his cartridge, and I did not own the game. I only borrowed it to do said bonus stuff at the end of the series. But in terms of me purchasing my own copy, digital or cartridge, and doing a series on the game is, well, something I want to look at from a wide view angle before I actually do it. So, let's take a pros and cons style of outlook on this, and at the end, I will reveal whether I plan to in the future or not. But before we do this, and before I say what I'm going to say, note that plans do change, so if I say yes, it might not be yes a month from now, and vice versa. Let's get the negatives and or cons out of the way first. An unoriginal and or cheeky idea. This one explains itself really. It's already been done before, albeit under different circumstances. The same, if not worse, hardships. With Country Returns, I indeed did have some troubles, i.e. the later levels being bitchy as fuck and editing the episodes being a slog because of their sheer length and content therein. If I were to do Tropical Freeze, unless I were to stream it, it would just be round 2 of that with potentially worse problems. View stealing. This may be a bit of a stretch, but if I were to do this series because I've already done it before and due to reasons I will explain later, I would basically be stealing the views from the original series unintentionally. Granted, that's why remasters exist, and granted, I honestly could not give two shits about how Xavier64's channel is doing anymore. It still would be a bit greedy to redo all of it, even if it is for revisiting and or remastering purposes. Now let's go over the pros. Extra views / watch time. Again, this one speaks for itself. A fresh coat of paint. I won't even lie, I personally don't like the original series. It's not because it's on Xavier64's channel or anything, but the presentation. Our personalities were a slight bit different back then, and it took until the last few episodes for it to really become concrete. A remaster could fix that by staying concrete throughout, especially with what I have access to now opposed to back then. Better / more efficient gameplay. I am fully aware I am a dick for even including this, but I don't care. The gameplay in the first series is a complete mess, to put it lightly. Yes, it has that weird element of charm, what with us two just playing it for fun and us quipping as we do it or making fun of each other as we die. There was never a serious moment, and that can be a bad thing. Yin and yang. You need balance between humor with the occasional serious moment, something the first series definitely lacked. Increasing the repertoire. I've been trying to include more Nintendo games in my ever-growing content pile, and what better way to do that than with a new series? Plus, just variety. Experience. My experience in Donkey Kong Edge was not on my side the first time around, and it showed in more ways than one. Whether it be sloppy gameplay, not knowing what to check, where to go, what exactly to do, it was rough. But now, almost 3 years after the first series began, I've most definitely expanded my DK knowledge and skills, so that may eliminate some of the aforementioned hardships. And being by yourself definitely also helps. And finally, consistency. This refers to two things. The first one being the consistency of the series itself. To put it simply, I did the first, why not the second? The second thing refers to the uploading of said series. Before, I had to wait until Xavier64 and I met up to record the game, then it was a matter of him actually uploading it. With a remaster, I am in full control of when a new episode gets uploaded, and it'll be actually edited, so there's that. And there is nowhere near as much hassle as the first time around. 7 pros and 3 cons. So, after all of that, do I plan on making a brand new series on Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, almost 3 years after the original's inception? Kind of. Just know, as the ones who will be receiving said series if I do, a few things. 1. It will not be presented as a sequel series. A lot has changed since that old series, the main one being Xavier64 and I are no longer friends. The two others being he's a whiny bitch now, and that I have more advanced recording technology. If it happens, I will most likely have to make it a remaster, or a reboot. Kind of like all the Michael Myers and Halloween timelines. Okay, think of the timeline from my Donkey Kong experience on the channel like this. The main/first timeline is the first series we did that lasted from May of 2020 to September of 2022. The OG. Then, I started the Donkey Kong Country Returns series near the end of the first one, this one running from May of 2022 to whenever the series ends. So this timeline here will contain my solo Donkey Kong Country Returns series and the remastering of the Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze series should it happen, both of which will have runtime parallel to each other. That also will make the co-op series the only one of the three to not have any parallel runtime to the other two, and will cement it as its own standalone thing, minusing the slim possibility of a co-op remaster sometime in the future. Number 2. The series, should it happen, will be purely solo. As much as I'm not a fan of Xavier 64 now, I have to admit that it will be wrong to do it with anyone but him. It wouldn't feel the same, and the aura would not be able to fill the shoes that the first series left behind. Number 3. Just because I do or do not remaster it, and just because Xavier 64 and I are no longer acquainted, does not mean that if the series comes to fruition, that it happens just to spite Xavier 64. Yes, I'm an asshole, but even that would be way too petty for me. Number 4. The original co-op series and the new solo one, despite being on the same game, will most likely not be connected in any way, ever. Simply because of lack of said friendship, I doubt he would want it to coincide with mine, as I do not want mine to be associated with his. Jesus, that was a lot to go over. Thanks for listening to all of that. Make sure to stay tuned to see if I do end up making that series, and as always, remember to subscribe. With that, peace out, everybody.